it is a solemn and somber night here in Tuscaloosa tonight as we remember those people who we lost. But it is also a night of promise as we continue to see signs of progress. Tonight, we are coming to you live from the intersection of 15th Street and McFarland Boulevard. Behind me is actually where the new Krispy Kreme will be built. And behind me, before that, is actually where the new Full Moon Barbecue will come. But tonight is also a night of remembrance. 1 year ago tonight, it was a much different scene down here. All the businesses in this area were either damaged or destroyed. Full Moon Barbecue was demolished along with Krispy Kreme. The Wood Square Shopping Center, home to Hobby Lobby and Chuck E. Cheese, was also leveled. In all, 53 people died in Tuscaloosa County on that day. And early this evening, we remembered those who were lost in a community memorial service. WVUA's Travis Leader was there.
Heavy hearts and tearful eyes filled Coleman Coliseum on the one-year anniversary of the Tuscaloosa tornado. Many dignitaries and speakers addressed the crowd, beginning with an invocation from Reverend Kelvin Crew.
Heal the hearts, O God, of those who lost homes, those who lost jobs, but more importantly, those who lost family and friends.
At 5:13, marking a year to the minute the tornado entered Tuscaloosa, a moment of silence was accompanied by the ominous sound of a bell ringing 53 times. One for every individual who lost their lives in the storm. Family members stood to receive a memento from the community. Governor Robert Bentley took to the podium and stressed the importance of continued community involvement.
This is the work that we must continue until our people reach the end of their long road to recovery.
Sheriff Ted Sexton recognized the various first responders who helped save lives immediately after the storm.
Some people go an entire lifetime wondering whether they have made a difference. Tuscaloosa's first responders will never have that problem.
Probate Judge Hardy McCollum spoke on how the community came together to lend a helping hand.
Perhaps the brightest light shining of all was our neighbor helping our neighbor.
Tuscaloosa Mayor Walt Maddox offered optimism to those in attendance.
As one people that has been forged in tragedy, that has seen so much sorrow, but has been unified by a confident hope will always endure. We are Tuscaloosa, and we will come back.
High school junior Justin Oliver sang Amazing Grace.
Praise God, praise God.
And WVUA's Terry Brewer offered some final thoughts to close the event.
We can honor the memory of those lost and honor those who have served by never forgetting what we learned 1 year ago today and always recognizing the gift of each day.
Reporting in Tuscaloosa, Travis Leader, WVUA News.
Each of the 53 victims' names were read at today's service, and behind each one of those names is a family. To say today was difficult for them would be putting it mildly. WVUA's Lindsay Price picks up our story from there.
With prayer, love, support, just wanting to see what they can do for each other. I mean, you cannot ask for a better place to live than Tuscaloosa.
Cindy Mayers lost her mother, Annie Lewis Sayer, exactly 1 year ago. She says her mother died in her home, the victim of an unsurvivable event.
When you take a direct hit from a tornado, even though she was in her safe spot with her little bicycle helmet on, which is precious, but you can't avoid a direct hit.
Willie Turner lost both his wife and son last April. Friday's memorial service was an opportunity to remember his loved ones and to say thanks to the man who saved his life.
The cop right there pulled us out. Help.
Right there, yeah. Thomas.
Come on in here.
We've been keeping constant contact.
Yeah. He's family.
All the family members present agree. Having a service like this one was an opportunity to have healing with others who are dealing with the same loss.
Everybody I know and everything cares about me, cares about everybody else. That's family.
We've had a lot of cry times that we've had to be together, But, you know, I don't feel like Mother would want us to continue crying. And we're just praying that through time that we can remember Mother for all the great things that she did.
It feels like it's given us some closure, and it's just amazing that to have so many people in one area for this one tragedy. And probably we are all feeling the same type of emotion, and just to it warms our hearts just to know that someone, the community, will reach out and just remember our loved one and just the tragedy that we went through, and know the hardship that we still have to face on missing them and not having them here with us.
A lot of us have kind of been keeping in contact just to kind of go through this together. We've all never really gone through something like this before, and there's no way to know how to deal with this kind of loss and this kind of tragedy. And it's been wonderful to have this kind of community come together and really help each other out and be each other's support system.
Even though it's been a year, Willie Turner says he still feels his wife and son's spirit.
I know they're there. I can hear them all the time.
In Tuscaloosa, Lindsay Price, WVUA News.
And Coleman Coliseum was not the only place where people gathered today. There were memorial services and gatherings all over Tuscaloosa today. WVUA's Tommy Townsend attended some of those.
Wright's Restaurant in Alberta City was among many places damaged by the storm, but they came back and took today to celebrate the rebuilding efforts of Tuscaloosa.
And me and my husband, we thought about it and we just started having it. Getting it together the last 2 weeks, just like getting it together.
They felt like the best way to commemorate the revitalization of Alberta City was to have the get-together in Alberta City.
And we want the people to come out and have it out here because this is where the tornado hit here too. And that we invited people to come out, and we're going to serve hot dogs and drinks and cookies, and we'll have a prayer. The tornado hit here at 4 minutes after 5. So at 5 o'clock we're going to have prayer.
Across town at Cornerstone Full Gospel Baptist Church, youth gathered to celebrate how they turned tragedy into triumph.
This event is designed for youth all over the city to come together and to remember back on what happened last year, but more importantly, how they are victorious and they came through it.
Many at the event say their faith is a big reason they overcame this year.
I know for a fact that there's no way that we could have got through this last year without the grace of God. In spite of everything that's happened, God is still in control. So I'm just excited about it. It's very, very difficult. I was going through some of the pages and the memorial services that are happening, not to kind of get teary-eyed and choked up, because I remember that day exactly what I personally went through.
Reporting in Tuscaloosa, Tommy Townsend, WVUA News.
Bring in Chief Meteorologist Richard Scott now, and before we get to the forecast, I know that tonight is certainly a night that you're reflecting back as well, because you lost your house in the storm. You were one of several of our WVUA family members who lost their house, lost their apartment in the storm. And your roommate, our director, Jonathan Newman, was in the house at the time. Luckily, he got out okay, but this is certainly a night that will stick in your memory for a while as well.
Yeah, John, it was certainly an incredible night in Alabama's history, and it hit me personally hard. I bought this house about 10 months before the tornado hit. And it was so unfortunate for the disaster to happen. But, John, you know, it could be a lot worse. My roommate was okay in the storm. I made it through okay in the storm. We lost a lot of our possessions, but we made it through. And we were just right down the street from there. In fact, we're right across the road from where I lived. You go across McFarland Boulevard behind Big Lots Hobby Lobby, and that's the area where I lived, where my house was. In fact, I stopped at Krispy Kreme many times. Getting my favorite is the chocolate glazed donuts. Many times stopped by here, and I'm so excited, John, that they're rebuilding. And I'm ready to get some more donuts, man.
Yeah, if you missed the top of the newscast tonight, you know that where we are actually sitting tonight is where Krispy Kreme will be located. Let's move on and talk about the weather tonight. certainly nothing like it was a year ago.
Yeah, you know, totally different, John, and that's one great thing. There's so many outdoor events happening tonight and today. You know, the weather couldn't be any more perfect. We've got a little light breeze. It feels great out there. In fact, the southeast, the temperatures are actually fairly mild. In fact, we're talking temperatures in the 70s, which is really uncommon for this time of the year. It's a little warm for this time of the year. Satellite and radar across the southeastern U.S., you know, not much to talk about. We are dry, not much cloud cover to deal with as well, and the rain, hey, it is out of here, nowhere close to our area. Quick cast, by the way, tonight, temperatures going to fall, or during the day tomorrow, temperatures going to rise back in the mid-70s by 9 o'clock, and we're talking temperatures back to 82 or so by lunch, and around 4 o'clock, 87. So, John, it's going to be a hot day tomorrow for Saturday, but the good news is we are not talking any threat of severe weather over the next few days, so that is certainly a blessing.
All right, Richard, thank you very much.
Yeah.
We'll check back with you a little bit later on in this broadcast. Well, you know, some of the first people to respond to the devastation and to see it across Tuscaloosa were the first responders. Thanks to their quick actions and heroic drive, these men and women saved hundreds of lives across the county.
It started that morning, I think around 5:30.
We had a tornado that came through Pickens County that morning, and the minute I crossed the line, I had to turn around and go right back and get my chainsaw.
They told us, you know, pretty significant chance of us having some tornadoes, so we started getting stuff ready around here, making sure all of our tools ran, making sure we had extra stuff on the trucks.
By the time I made it to McFarland Boulevard, I could see the storm trailing off to my left.
We watched it come in front of the station. It moved. It looked like it's probably a mile, half a mile in front of us.
I was coming down Crescent Ridge Road just about at the time the storm was coming through, and I sustained a little damage to my car, but I was able to get out of the path of the storm.
You're pretty certain that people were dying up in front of us. So you were about to get real busy.
You know, after it was over, just seeing people walking around that had lost everything, and seeing kids that, you know, some was hurt and some was just mainly scared because they didn't know what they was going to do or where they was going to go.
You could look, as far as you looked left and as far as you looked right, there was just nothing. And just a lot of hurt people.
Our deputies had to respond and do things that are far beyond what they normally would do.
I was calling for an ambulance, and it was something that I thought I'd never hear in my career. There are no ambulances.
About my 10th patient that was obviously beyond help. It felt pretty hopeless, and I turned around then and really took a hard look at things and said, you know, we're going to make it.
People came back together, and they worked with each other, and they stood up and say, we've been knocked down once, but we're going to stand up and we're going to fight and we're going to come back together.
And I'm just thankful that our deputies did such a great job. Our community did, you know, an incredible job. And then our brothers from these other counties were able to come in and saw that need.
But I'm just proud. I'm proud of the Tuscaloosa County Sheriff's Office. I'm proud of men like MacArthur. I'm proud of our chief. I'm proud of our sheriff. I'm proud of what all the young guys did.
I didn't lose anything personally, but I endured it with those people, just having to be out there with them. And I feel a lot closer to the city, you know. I feel like it's more home now.
It goes without saying, April 27th was a day unlike any other in our city's history. It is extremely rare that the conditions exist and come together for a storm outbreak of that magnitude. Today, the University of Alabama's College of Arts and Sciences teamed up with the Alabama Museum of Natural History to co-host a tornado research symposium. Professionals from several fields spoke. The topics ranged from the meteorological conditions to warnings to the lasting impacts on the landscape after the storms. According to Craig Remington, the presentation's goal was to educate people on the uniqueness of last year's tornado outbreak and how to improve tornado preparedness in the future.
It's the season of the year when those preparations are most important. And I've noticed myself that people actually seem to be much more aware of the weather now